Mr. Gore.
Hello, can
Can
you
you
hear
hear
me?
me?
I can hear you.
Wow, we did it!
Wonders of modern science.
Exactly. So I'm gonna turn down the volume a little bit so we don't get nasty feedback. Are you hearing feedback on your end?
No, I'm not getting any feedback. Because I don't have I don't not on speakerphone, but I can hear you fine.
Excellent. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on Ancestral Muses.
Well, this it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And just as way of background for those that are listening, Darryl and I go back a little bit because we actually went to high school together,
Yes, it's we
along with
won't we
his wife
won't we won't go
Delcina.
to the real numbers.
Well, hopefully, I'll see everybody in September because, of course, we were supposed to be having, dare I say, what number reunion in May?
Was it 55?
No, it wasn't 55
40?
yet. I think we're only up to like 45. We're close
I
to
think yeah, it's
50, though.
45. I'm
Anyway, it got canceled because of the situation with the virus. And as we speak, let me just share that I'm in Florida and Darryl is in Philadelphia.
Yes, I am. To actually have a beautiful sunny day in Philadelphia for once.
And of course, it is sunny in Florida. Yesterday we had rain, but be that as it may, yay, go ahead, technology. So, what I would like to do is we're going to talk a little bit about something I never knew about you, even when we were in Springside, Chestnut Hill, which is the history of Dennis Farm.
Okay, okay.
So,
Uh,
I'm going to turn it over to you and tell me what you will a little bit about your family story as to how Dennis Farm came into being.
all right. Um, First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Darryl Gore. I'm the Vice President of Development for the Dennis Farm Charitable Land Trust. We're a 501c3 nonprofit that was developed to restore and promote the Dennis Farm. And the Dennis Farm is actually on the National Registry of Historic Places. The Dennis Farm was founded by my seven-time great-grandfather, a Revolutionary War, African American Revolutionary War veteran named Prince Perkins. Prince was a free African American revolu- African American who fought in the Revolutionary War. He was part of the second regiment of the Connecticut line. We know that he fought. We can document that he was in Valley Forge with General Washington. He also fought in the Battle of Brandywine, as well as the Battle of Stony Point, among other battles that he served at. But after the war, uh, he returned to Connecticut, and with the funds that he received for fighting in the war, he purchased land in now what is now upstate Pennsylvania. This is in Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania, which is about 25 miles northeast of Scranton in the northeast corner of the state. At that time, that part of the state was actually under, there was a little war that went on between the Connecticut Yankees and the William Penn settlers over that section of the land because King George's map makers, when they mapped out that land, designated that land both as Connecticut and as Pennsylvania. So prior to the war, the Connecticut Yankees came down to that land, and the William Penn settlers came up from Philadelphia to that land and had a little war that started before the Revolutionary War. It stopped so that they could fight against the crown, and then after the war, they returned to the land and started up again with another war, and it took until President Washington stepped in 1792 that the war stopped. Um, but that was called the Yankee-Pennamite War. But Prince Perkins was part of the Fourth Connecticut, Second Regiment of the Connecticut Line, and he used that money to purchase this land which is now upstate Pennsylvania. It was originally 125 acres. Later on, um, the farm was expanded to over 200 acres, and now currently it is 153 acres of land that has remained in the hands of the same African American family since the 1790s. That Prince Perkins, as I said, was my seven-time great grandfather, and he settled the land with his family. And as currently, what the Dennis Farm Charitable Land Trust is doing is we're raising funds to restore the 1820 farmhouse on the property and convert it to a museum, as well as build an interpretive center as a resource to show people, to give people the story of the history of free African Americans in Northeast Pennsylvania. And it actually was a fairly not large community, but there was a fairly vibrant community of African Americans in the northeastern part of the country. And Susquehanna County was one of the largest areas of African American settlement in that area. We
Okay,
are.
so breathe for a minute. Oh my God, you said all that I believe without taking a breath. I mean, there is so much to unpack there, Darryl. I mean, I cannot imagine for those of us who are interested or have little or no knowledge or information about our ancestry, be that on our paternal side, our maternal side. So, can you tell us a little bit about who was it in your family, or how did your family document, or how did all this happen that everyone knows the story, but I never knew the story, and I've known you damn near 45 years
This
or longer.
this has been part, for the members of my family, and this is my family on my maternal side. This has been part of our family history, again, going back to the 1790s. And it's the and we wanted to keep it. We wanted to keep it a little known sort of story of African American and American history. We didn't want my grandparents and my ancestors did not really want to brag about it. We were just thought that we were part of that community. We grew up and lived in that community. Our family lived in that community, and we were just part of the community. And it wasn't until my sister, Denise Dennis, who was chairman and CEO of the Dennis Farm Charitable Land Trust, that she told her story to Charles Bloxon, I think it was. And
Wow.
when she told the story, she was working for I believe she was working for the Urban League at the time. She wrote a publication that came out in, I believe it was the late 70s, early 80s, that that started the momentum towards this. And then at the time, the farmhouse on the property and had really gone into a deteriorated state. And my great aunt Hope, we all owe a debt of gratitude to my great aunts Hope and Edith, who kept the farm in the family despite the fact that there were a lot of pressures on it for them to sell the farm. My great aunt Edith and my great aunt Hope said this farm was not going to go out of our family. When my great grandfather, Sumner Dennis, he got to when he became too sick to pay for and take care of the farm. My great aunt Edith, who was a school teacher in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, on her salary, saved up the money to pay off the taxes and indebtedness on the farm. And back in the 1930s, she basically leased out the land to the local farmers, so they used the land, this acreage for pasture land. But she restored the farmhouse back then and made that into her summer vacation home that she basically used not only for her summer vacation, but she would invite members of the family and her friends up to the farm, and we have many photographs of the key people that came to visit the farm. And if you understand what life was like for African Americans, especially back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, there was just not a whole lot of places that African Americans could go. And even though we weren't a hotel, but all of her friends would come and stay at the farm. So,
Wow.
this was kind of like a Green Book story, but that.
Yes, I was just gonna say the Green Book story, and for those who have not seen the movie, it is certainly worth watching. It, and it was, if you will, a directory which was put together by, I believe, a U.S. postal worker who, black people up north who, generally speaking, their roots are in the South. I mean, I was born in Georgia, in Cuthbert, Georgia, the same little town that my mother and father were both born in, and so that's where my roots are in Georgia. But because my father was in the military, we never went to Georgia during the summer. But I know for a lot of people up north, it was like an annual pilgrimage that during the summer months, people from up north would go to the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, a lot of places. And, because we weren't able to stay in regular hotels. We weren't able to eat at restaurants. We did what we had to do, and so he compiled this book. And it's so funny because I just happen to have on my dining room table here in Orlando at the Orlando Museum of Art. They had a showing of the movie that I got to go to, and I'm just looking at it right here. It was the Green Book Guide to Freedom, and it was shown as well on the Smithsonian Channel. And it was an eye-opening, um, very, very interesting aspect of our history, and that's why hearing you tell this story. Has anyone in your family ever thought about actually writing a book about this?
Well, actually, we there's a number of projects in the works. As I said, we're in the process of doing. We're working on several projects concurrently. First of all, there are a number of items in our family collection, books and artifacts that were in our family collection. It's funny that you mentioned the Smithsonian because they are in the Smithsonian. We were actually parts of our family collection were actually in one of the preview exhibits for the African American wing for the Smithsonian prior to its opening. There was an exhibition that 2 years before its opening called "Through an African American Lens," that was in the American History wing of the Smithsonian, that included several of our family books and artifacts, including my great 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 grandfather's glasses, candle wax wick, our family Bible, and our family tree was on
Wow.
display that had all of our family names, including mine and my wife and my daughter. And that was on display in this exhibit in the American History wing of the Smithsonian. And several of our items are in the permanent collection in the African American wing of the Smithsonian as well. Uh,
Wow.
so, so, and so we have that. My sister is currently working. My sister Denise is currently working with an illustrator to produce a series of children's books on our family history, because again, not only uh, is the history of Prince Perkins, but on my six-time great grandfather's side, Henry Dennis, who married Angeline Perkins and became Angeline Perkins. And that is when the farm expanded. Well, Henry Dennis married a woman named Hannah Benson, and her brother was a person named Dido Benson, and he has some very interesting history. Last Saturday we celebrated the ride of Paul Revere and how he rode through Concord, Massachusetts, letting the people know that the regulars were coming. Well, there's also the story of Dido Dingo Benson, who also rode at the same time with Paul Revere, and he was an 8-year-old African American with his trumpet who took the southern route to let the people know that the regulars were coming. But he is also one of our ancestors from Concord, Massachusetts, through the Dennis and the Benson family. So,
I mean, your stories are like unbelievable, and I don't know if most people grasp, as I've always said, that African American history and American history, it's inextricably wound up together. So we are each other, and I hope that in this conversation, that hopefully will be one of others that we can have moving forward, that it will spark an interest in people to explore their own family roots, but certainly support you and your family. So let's talk for a little bit. You had mentioned earlier that the Dennis Farm Family Trust is a 501c3. And for people who are not familiar with what that is, that's a charitable
yeah, we're a
designation
nonprofit
and
organization.
nonprofit, correct. And so, people, if they were interested in donating um, to your efforts, how would they do that? And so that people know it is and it would be tax
Well,
deductible.
let me first explain to you what one of our major goals for the Dennis Farm Charitable Land Trust. Last year, we
Okay.
were very fortunate to receive a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities towards the restoration of the farmhouse on the property. The farmhouse was built circa 1820 um, uh, on the Henry Dennis part of the farm. And we now are in we now have plans together. We have the architectural plans, and we're raising funds to restore the farmhouse and convert it into a museum to exhibit not only the history of our family, but the history of African Americans in that region. So that it's a matching grant, and it's a $400,000 grant, but unfortunately, it's not even a matching grant; it's a challenge grant. We have to raise $1.2 million to receive that money from the National Endowment of Humanities. So that is what we're in the process of fundraising, raising funds for. So we do have a website that you can go to. It's www.thedennisfarm.org, where you can find out more information on the history of the farm, what we do. We have several events that occur over the course of the year. We have annually we have a forum that we well, actually, the last 2 years we've had a forum on promoting racial understanding. The first year we had it at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, and this year in February we had it at the Museum of the American Revolution. Both were very well attended, and we had very interesting speakers for both of those. We also every year have our annual symposium, which we do in conjunction with a college in that area, Keystone College, where we invite speakers to speak on the farm, aspects of the farm, and African Americans in that area, and we have tours of the farm. But all that information is available if you go to our website, www.thedennisfarm.org. We also have a Facebook page that is in development, as well as an Instagram page that we're currently working on developing and expanding. Unfortunately, the developer of that page is me, and and I have the big
Oh my goodness. So look,
and,
I feel your
and,
pain because everything that we're doing here, I kind of
yeah,
self-taught myself. I created my own website. I too am on Instagram. I have a Facebook page, a personal one and a business one. So all I can tell you is you got your work cut out for you. I will follow you. And to anyone who is listening to the podcast, I implore you to follow and to get the word out. And I believe there's a way you can leave questions. If you have any questions for Darryl, then I can follow up with him at a
right.
later date and
You
time and
you
give
can
him
you
the questions, and we can have plan another episode. So when you were talking about the collaboration with Keystone
yes.
College, are there other educational
Oh
institutions in your
oh
area
we
or
we
not
we
necessarily in your
we have
area
collaborations
that
with a number of educational institutions. We have we have a partnership with Cheney University. We also State University, SUNY New York, State University of New York in Binghamton actually has formed an archaeological dig at our farm where they uncovered over 1,600 artifacts that they're holding in reserve for us until we do open the museum. Several of those,
wow.
some of those artifacts were taken by the Smithsonian also. We have partnership with Cheney University, Penn State, um, at least the local school district in that area, Mountain View School District, is actually cataloged cataloged all the trees on our property and has actually produced maple syrup from several of our trees. I actually have a jar of maple syrup
Oh my goodness.
in my kitchen
This is
right
so
now. It's good stuff.
exciting. Wow.
But
I
as it stands,
This has got to be like one of the best kept secrets that I'm aware
you
of,
know,
Darryl. Okay. I cannot believe that all these years I knew nothing about this. You know what I'm saying?
well, we are really in kind of the nascent stage of developing the trust and getting our name out there and raising funds. I mean, we're doing what we can. Recently, we spent a week at the Pennsylvania Farm Show, getting our name out there, and we offer tours and through Keystone College. They have docents that are available if people are interested in taking a tour. One of the things that we are also in the process of developing is because of the coronavirus thing right now, and people can't get up there.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping that very soon we'll have a virtual tour of the farm available on our website. Um,
That will be so cool.
so we
And you're right, with the virus, we've had to think differently about how we communicate, hence us doing this remote podcast. But you know what? I had an interesting thought. And because we know, hopefully, our reunion will be coming up when, hopefully, in September, um, I would think that, maybe there could be some shaking of some monies at Springside Chestnut Hill. What do you
uh,
think?
I'm trying to shake every tree that might have some loose change in, and right now
And we know that Springside Chestnut Hill trees, they have loose change on them.
that
Okay.
true that the big issue the big challenge that we're facing right now is because of the economy being in the way it is. A lot of philanthropic money is, while it's there, it's more focused in areas other than historic preservation. So we're doing our best to try and keep our name out there until the environment improves somewhat. I mean, we were very fortunate initially, but right now with the issues involved with coronavirus, a lot of philanthropic money is going, it, rightfully so, toward helping and feeding those people in need. And we recognize that we have
Absolutely.
to take a back seat to making sure people can eat and pay their rent and pay their mortgage and pay their bills. And that's where that money should be going. And we agree that that's where that money should be going right now. But we're hoping that they not
Well,
don't
you know
forget
what's
about
so fascinating is we are so fortunate to have gone to the type of schools where we meet people who are connected. You
it.
know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? And so it's not that for me. It's not a quantum leap to think that any of our classmates may know someone or they may be able to hopefully help you because in helping you, we're helping each other. So I personally am going to make sure that when we finish this, I'm going to send you the link so that you can post this on if you have a Facebook page.
Okay.
You can put it on your website, and this will be another way for us to try to get information out there, which is the whole premise behind me starting Ancestral Muses because it came to me, how lucky am I that I know people from all over the world? Everybody has a story to share, and if I can be instrumental in helping people share their stories and I'm having fun, I mean, it's like a win-win for me and a win-win for everybody else, you know?
Absolutely.
So
And any help that you could give me would be greatly appreciated, and we would consider it to be a blessing towards our cause.
I know that's right. So I know you did mention that you're also that Dennis Farm is on the National
Yes,
Register of Historic
we are in the
Sites.
National Registry of Historic Places. We actually have a plaque outside the farm. If you go to our website, you'll see the plaque that was dedicated now 2 years ago, 3 years ago, of our National Historic designation. As I said, we have part of our collections in the Smithsonian, and we this the grant that we received from the National Endowment for Humanities. In addition to the grant that we're receiving, the National Endowment is the NEH has told us that with the 2025 um, what is that, whatever centennial celebration that is coming up in 2025, they want to highlight the Dennis
Mm-hmm.
farm as one of the leading examples of life for free African Americans in the 18th and 19th century. So we are, receiving notoriety and getting our name out there in that manner. So we're hopeful that if not having it done, the restoration of the farmhouse will be well underway by that time.
Cool. So now, what you may not know about me, Darryl, is I think it was, let me see, was it 2 years ago? 3 years ago? Let me go over here and check real quick. Okay, 2017. I had the opportunity to write opinions, if you will, for our local newspaper, the Orlando Sentinel. I was part of the Orlando Sentinel Advisory Opinion Board. I was one of several people, um, and it was an incredible experience. So I might suggest um, perhaps you or someone else, or perhaps when I come up there, I would have no problem because you do have the Philadelphia Inquirer, and in the area where Dennis Farm is located, I'm sure there are local newspapers that maybe to spark interest, you or someone could write an editorial piece to make them aware that you are
Oh well,
raising money.
there have been
So
several
is that
articles
something that perhaps you
in the
thought
local
about?
media on us, so we are getting our name out there whenever we can.
Cool, cool.
Because
Yes. Okay.
I could tell
So,
you some stories, some stories about my ancestors that are in the local papers up there. Um,
wow. I mean, I'm still blown away by the fact that your family has been able to hold on to this property for as long as you've been able to hold on to it, that you're able to document it, that you have all of these designations, and there are people um, all over the United States who are always looking for educational tours or things about African American history, US history, because it's all one and the same. And it's just a matter of time. And I know you just recently retired, so now you have time to devote to this, whereas before you were working a
Yes,
part-time job.
absolutely. But
So now it's like, yay, full steam
absolutely,
ahead.
absolutely. That's one of the reasons why I retired.
Cool. That I mean, words. I just cannot find the words. So, is there anything else you want to share with us, or is there anything else that we want
Well,
to talk about?
well, it's entirely up to you. I could go on and on. This is what I do, and this is just my family history, and I can tell you anecdotes. Or do we want to save it so that we have an opportunity to come back and talk about this again?
I would say let's save some for
That
another
that would work
episode.
with me.
So, is there anything else you would like to say in parting? Would you like to share with us again? Oh, you know what I
Yes.
wanted to ask you? I know that with the virus, this may not be um, possible, but do you all sometimes have people who might be willing to volunteer their time or their services? And if there were people who were interested in doing something like that, how would they make that happen?
As it stands now, we have this partnership with Keystone College. So if anyone is interested in taking a tour of the property, they can contact. Well, unfortunately, Keystone is closed because of the coronavirus. So, but we're hopeful. We're still hopeful. We have our annual symposium in October, and we're always hopeful that by that time the facilities will be open at Keystone College and that we can have our symposiums. Usually we try and schedule it for the first week in October. So tentatively we have not canceled it as of yet. But if anyone is interested in attending the symposium or finding out more, please feel free to go to our website, www.thedennisfarm.org, or go to our Facebook page. It's The Dennis Farm on Facebook. And they can like the Dennis Farm. And if they want to leave a message for us, I will respond to them as quickly as I can.
Cool. And so I am going to send you the link that you'll be able to post it on the
Excellent.
Dennis Farm Facebook
Excellent.
page. Cool. Darryl, I want to say
Oh,
thank you
thank
so
you for having
much.
me.
I
Thank you
learned
for
a
having me.
lot. I learned a lot. I mean, 45 years or more, and I had no clue. I would say this was like a well
Well,
kept secret, okay?
it wasn't intentionally kept as a secret. It was just not, when it's part of your family history, sometimes you forget you take its significance for granted. And it wasn't until we started
Absolutely.
sharing it with other people that they said you really need to share this with others. So
And I'm glad you listened. And thank you so much for sharing it with me on Ancestor Muses. So I thank you. Tell
I
Darryl
will.
I said hello. And I'm gonna end it now, and then it'll take a couple of minutes maybe for it to do what it do, and then I will send
Very
you the
good.
link.
Thank you so
Okay?
much for having me.
No, thank you, Darryl. I can't wait to
In
see you guys
September.
hopefully in
And you
September
take
at our
care. Tell
reunion.
your mom and your brother I said
Okay,
hi. Both of you,
absolutely.
both
And
Charles and
love to
Kenny.
you and
So
everybody.
thanks a lot.
Okay.
All right, bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.